Hey everybody, it's me, DeoGenZ, and it's time to play more of Analogue, A Hate Story. Last time we had some very tragic events go down in the logs. Miscarriages and forced marriages. Let's see what Block 6 has to yield today. Just Us Wives, from the Pale Bride. It's been a while since we've read something from the Pale Bride. Dear Diary, I guess it's been forever since I cared enough to write anything down. I just haven't seen much point. Since my last entry, I got married, moved into the palace, and lost my virginity. Apparently for a girl my age, none of these things are really all that weird. Yeah, in your society. The Queen finally insisted on talking to me the night after I first slept with my dearest husband. I'd been expecting it. My sister warned me that she would probably be jealous, and I just have to endure it. She outranks me, and I would simply have to kowtow to her if need be. I haven't had to yet, though. We had tea together, and she at least has started by acting friendly. I'm sure sister was right. I'll get the brunt of her anger soon enough, but today she was friendly. How are you holding up? She asked me, after we finished with tea. I shrugged. Do trust me, I know how hard it can be for a newlywed. I've been through it myself, but I was at least older. You probably miss your family, do you not? That's what would be expected from any good girl. So I nodded. It gets easier with time. I had no response. I'm sorry. Am I bothering you? You can leave if you wish. I simply thought you might like some company. I wasn't sure how to respond to that either. I just clasped my hands and shook my head. I just wanted to be sure, she said. There was a long pause that followed. Finally she asked, How was last night? It surprised me that she was willing to bring up the subject, figuring that it was a siege into her being figuring that it was a segue into her being vindictive towards me for sleeping with her husband. I shrugged as she continued, I just know he can be rough. Nobody ever talked about those duties with me. Then she smiled, and I felt almost like I could drop my guard. I had no idea what to expect my first time. Do believe me, I'm not jealous. That is nothing to be jealous of. But do tell me how it was. It made me think back on last night. Honestly, it was the best night I've ever had since waking up in the future. Everyone, my mother, my sister, and now my queen warned me that it would be bad. It would be a duty and nothing more. But I honestly did love it. I would have let him keep me up all night if he'd had the energy for it. I guess while I was thinking about all that, I let out a slight smile. I caught myself, but not before she noticed. Oh, did you enjoy it then? She asked, touching my arm. I jumped. Please, please, be at ease. That is perfectly all right, too. So long as you know it's just for him. There is absolutely no shame in it. There is none. I expected her to jump into something passive-aggressive from that, but she didn't. All she did was change the subject and said that she was really worried about me. Maybe she isn't so bad. So you can see she was kind. She was good to me. She really was. I take it you want to know more about my marriage then? What are you interested in? I'm interested in both, but we'll start with your husband. I'm sorry. I'm not really ready to talk about him. Not beyond what I wrote in my diary. It's just too hard. That's what she said, and she did say it, so double ha. We never... It's not as if we had conversations. You think our relationship is one-sided? You have no idea. Anyway, here, I can give you some more. There's an entry from Jiahui in there. She did talk to him. She was, well, a lot stronger than I ever was. So you can see for yourself why I admired her. And, well, just read through them, alright? And that we shall. Little Sister from the Pale Bride. Dear Diary, attending to my husband has been easier than I was afraid it would be. Yes, there's days when it requires more strength than usual to keep going. I'm still getting increasingly more sick. Nothing will change that. But it's not so bad, really. All I have to do is dote on him and try to anticipate his desires. And he's happy with me. No abuse or anything. Sure, it's not as if I like him. He's an ugly 40-year-old man who cares only about politics and never tells me anything. 40 fucking years old, and she's what, 16 probably at the time? Maybe even 15? Yeah, it's just so messed up. Okay, I don't know where... why am I reading it as if I'm Hyune? I don't know where I ever got the impression that was something that could happen in marriage. I thought it was something from the past, but, well, I was young before I got put into stasis. It must have been a mistake of childhood. But so long as I do as I'm told, I'm not mistreated, like I was by my sister. And sleeping with him feels good. I really hope I don't get pregnant soon. I don't want that to stop. Doing that is really the only thing that makes me actually happy these days. Well, that and Xiaohui's talks with me. She's nice. She keeps me company when I stay up to wait for his return. She fetches servants to take me to bed on those days I'm too feverish to sit for too long. And she just talks to me as if I'm a friend. I don't really understand why, but I guess she really doesn't hate me after all. Do let me tell you, she said one evening while she brushed my hair, I always wanted a little sister growing up. That's how I think of you. Does that make sense? I shrugged. It was nice of her, and it felt so relaxing to let her touch my hair like that. She wasn't waiting for a response. Anyway, by now, she knows better. She just keeps talking kindly to me. I wonder why she never really did anything but shrug towards Ryu Jiawei. Illiterate. The more she lives in my house, the more I am confused by the mystery that is the Pale Bride. No wonder why my husband has been favoring the Kim family lately. Their daughter seems to be the perfect woman. She's not simply a pale beauty. She's always too shy to speak at all, let alone argue, seems to hang off his every word. And it turns out, is actually so completely humble in her education that she cannot even read. Or rather, she cannot read normal characters. I have observed her writing to herself, in perhaps what may be a diary. When I asked what it was, she wouldn't say, but was quick to hide it. I could not recognize a single character on her screen. However, they seemed simplified compared to regular writing. Perhaps she has invented a writing system just for herself? It is very strange. Did you ever receive those letters I sent to your house before you arrived? I asked her, curious. Seemingly she had. Did you read them all? Her response was worried, as if she was scared that I would be angry to find that she hadn't. I was not, of course. I'm sorry. I had assumed. Are you able to read? That was when I found out that she wasn't. I offered to read them to her, to which she seemed quite enthusiastic. I think I am likely to leave out some parts, however. I had enough difficulty bringing myself to writing the more embarrassing parts of the family history. Bringing myself to talk about them, even if I know she would never say anything, is just far too much. Like all things with her, I cannot tell whether her enthusiasm is sincere or an effort to make me happy. This troubles me. Of course I wasn't illiterate. I could read just fine. Just not their stupid Chinese-based characters. I mean, I can understand them now. Everything except for my diary entries is translated from them. It's such a dumb way of writing. It makes everything come out so stilted compared to proper Korean. Well, anyway, You're showing me that because you're interested in her abominations, right? Then here, I'll just give you the letters she sent. They give all the details, even the ones she was too embarrassed to tell me about at the time. You can probably guess which parts she would cut out. It's pretty obvious. It's the incest thing that she never told me about at the time. Having read about it now, I don't really blame her. And well, here, you can see what I mean for yourself. Yeah, right. Do keep in mind, Ryu Xiahue was a cousin to the Emperor and the previous wife. Holy incest. Muteness from the Pale Bride. Dear Diary, I've been thinking a lot about how close my death must be now. Lately, I've been getting prone to fainting spells. It probably goes right along with my diminishing appetite. If the doctor from the past was right, I've still got over a year left to live, maybe more. He said it wasn't very likely to get bad enough to kill me until I was at least 18. Although maybe all those years in stasis might have changed that. I don't know. But if he was right, and if I haven't lost track of time, I'm 16 and a half right now. So there's still a while. I've been trying to hide the signs of sickness. Even if I could explain, I know full well that nobody would believe me. So far, hiding it has been mostly working. Although I did have one of my fainting spells while my husband was on top of me. He wasn't angry at me, though. I don't think he cared. I know all I write about these days is sex with my husband and conversations with his wife. The Kim family would be proud, I guess. But those two things are all that really is worthwhile in my life. I have other responsibilities, of course. They're just not that interesting. And that's about it. Anyway, the Queen has continued to be nice to me. She finally figured it out. We were having tea together one afternoon. She was talking about nothing in particular, and she asked me some question that I just shrugged to. I hope you do not take this the wrong way, she then said, but there is something I would like to ask you. I nodded. I don't think I've ever heard your voice before. I nodded again. Why don't you ever speak to me? Are you just saving that for the Emperor? I didn't know how to respond. She was so close to getting it, to bringing up the subject I wasn't able to. Yet, that wasn't the right answer, the right question. So I shook my head and hoped that her next question would be, it was. Then, Hyune, she said uncertainly, are you mute? I felt like screaming yes at the top of my lungs. I was so happy that she'd finally figured it out. I smiled and was about to nod enthusiastically, but suddenly I stopped. What if she thought less of me if I said yes? If she knew that the reason I was so quiet and demure wasn't because of any sort of discipline. Those were the things people liked about me. Would she stop liking me if she knew? What if she told my husband? I was so terrified. I couldn't think of any correct answer. If I said no, I'm sure she would have asked her to hear what my voice sounded like, and I'd be forced to disobey. And if I nodded, then she'd know I wasn't really just trying hard to be a good wife. And I'm sure she would talk to my husband about it, so he'd know too. But while I stared at her in terror, thinking of how to respond, she sighed and sipped her tea. Don't worry about it, she said. You don't have to answer. Please, do forget that I even asked. You know, nobody ever noticed that until her. Nobody cared. Nobody even ever thought anything of it, or cared enough about me to find out. But she did care. She actually paid attention. She was great. And with that, we will leave off on today's episode. So next time, we will continue down these logs and see what the diary reveals.